Inspirational Lady Noble 365 Tarot. Welcome to my channel. I greatly appreciate you being here. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I trust you'll love this vibe. And everything you need to know about me is in the description below. This could be past, present, or future, you or someone around you. So take what resonates and leave the rest for someone else. This is a general read. This is not a personal read. If you like a personal read, check out the description below, and I'll be happy to assist you with doing so. Keep in mind that tarot is a tool. It is not the final rule. So it's a good idea to have an empty cup. You're on Lady Noble's channel and you really want to see what's up. Okay. All are welcome on this channel and all contributions are highly appreciated. Someone could be in the energy of being very grateful, very thankful. You could be someone who's high vibing. With the full card jumping out as I was shuffling the deck there's no coincidence, it's confirmation. You could be someone who is displaying a lot of courage. This courage could be very intimidating to those who are not in their happy place or space, which is none of your business, collective. It has nothing to do with you. And so the Fool card represents a person having courage, a person stepping out on faith, trust and believe in the process, not meaning that life is perfect, but you trust to know that there's always a higher power working for you on your behalf. But having the courage to move forward, not accepting excuses, not allowing anyone to break your spirit, not allowing anyone to intimidate you, vice versa. But I'm picking up your energy is very high vibing. And when I say high vibing, I mean, this is not just, because it's payday or because you have maybe accomplished something material. This is genuine happiness and fulfillment. So people see this happiness and this joy. It's in your aura, it's in your energy. Your energy enters a room before you enter the room. And so you may be experiencing a lot of weird situations. And when I say weird, maybe whether people know you or they're a total stranger. People could just be acting kind of weird, different, saying things that doesn't make sense. You could have people trying to rage bait you. If you're in a social group, this could be at work, in a friends group. Maybe you have a circle of friends that you deal with, someone in the community. This could be family as well. Your energy is so upbeat. There are people who just envy your joy. I may title this read, they envy your joy. Whatever you have going on, whether you're on social media, you could be a tarot reader. If you are, hey, you, it doesn't matter. You're happy, you're grateful, you're thankful, and your contentment is just an intimidation to people. And so this is a spiritual nudge and confirmation. Your ancestors do not want you changing who you are or dimming your light. You do not have to apologize for being happy. You do not have to apologize for doing the healing work. You don't owe people an explanation. We live in a world where people feel that they can poke and pry into people's lives. Now, when a person is open to talk to you, that is something that is much different. That means, they're opening themselves up. They're sharing some personal business with you. But I'm picking up even total strangers are intimidated by your joy. So much so, there are a lot of people who wish and desire to be in your shoes, not just because of material abundance and wealth and tangible items, because your joy is genuine. And the fun fact about life is, peace. If you don't have peace, you have nothing at all. But joy is a real thing. And so many people, rather than being envious of someone else being happy, being joyful, or you want to understand where they get their energy from, there is a God, there is a higher power. Does not matter what your belief system is. All are welcome on this channel. But, there are a lot of people, who claim to believe in a higher power. But when they see people in this charismatic, upbeat energy, they do become jealous. They do become envious. As I was just mentioning, you could be in a social group, a friend group, or around people who try to rage bait you, people who know you and people who don't know you. And this is to try to break your spirit. This is to bring your frequency and your vibration down. This is something that is intentional. So Spirit is bringing the spiritual notification to you. You're here to hear this message to let you know that you're doing nothing wrong and for you to continue maintaining your peace, your happiness, your joy. Part of being successful, being happy, being content, Progressing in life doesn't matter who you are. You're going to have haters. You're going to have people who are going to be jealous, for no reason. And it's not something that you're doing. So the divine wants you to know that. Your ancestors want you to know that. Don't change who you are. Don't dim your light. When you recognize and you're able to identify that someone is not for you, simply don't engage with them. You want to make sure that you're engaging as less as possible. You want to decrease your amount of engagement. If this is someone in the workplace, make it all work and then go home. You don't have to be in the lounge or in the coffee lounge or gossiping with everyone else or mingling with everyone else. But this is because there are people who love your energy, who would like to get to know you. I'm also picking up there could be some romantic interest, but that's a lot of jealous jelly eyes that are watching you. So this is nothing to fear. So this is a spiritual notification to make sure you're practicing spiritual hygiene and make sure you're just mindful of the company that you keep, okay? Because I'm picking up, you may have some instances where people are snickling, giggling, maybe doing backhanded, high-sided, reverse psychology jokes and, maybe in your face or when you're in a crowd or a room, trying to rage bait you. They're trying to strike a chord with you. They're trying to create a ripple effect. They want to basically dismantle your joy button. It's like they want to find, like, where is the collective getting this joy from? Oh, there it is. Let me dismantle it, but it can't be done. On this timeline, I'm picking up you're someone who's been through a lot, and this happiness and this joy that you have is genuine. It's original. I'm also picking up you're very straightforward, down to earth, and people who have assumptions about you, people who may even listen to you speak, hoping that they can find something to support their pre-orchestrated ideas of who they assumed you are. They find out and they feel very crunchy immediately. They feel stupid immediately. They feel bad immediately because they find out they have misjudged you. They find out that they've got it all wrong because you're very straightforward and down to earth. And it really fascinates people. It trips them out. Like a person that doesn't know you and wants to get to know you, they may speak to you or have a conversation and they're just shocked and surprised. Maybe you're giving relentless eye contact, maybe you're like, tell me what you want to know, and they're like, wow, okay. I didn't expect it to go that way. When a person's not expecting, when you're not giving people what they expect, it throws them off. Okay. But this is not a manipulation tactic of yours. This is just you being who you are. This is similar of the Queen of Pentacles energy, someone down to earth, very financially secure and comfortable in their own skin. So with the Three of Wands, as you see this person studying this crystal as if something is wrong. There is nothing wrong with you, collective. You are where you're supposed to be. You're in your divine purpose. This mere fact that you may be unique or have some things about you that aren't like other people, people may want to prejudge, and let them. Do not prove them wrong. Do not get into any disagreements or confrontations because as I mentioned, someone is trying to rage bait you. It's like you have a pleasant aura, collective, and there is people who want to prove opposite. They want to prove that you're toxic, you're not kind. Oh, the collective isn't peaceful. They're messy. Watch this. Watch I say this. There are people trying to rage bait to get you upset and get you off your square to prove a point to themselves. As I just mentioned, there are people who listen just to see if they can find any supporting evidence that, backs them up and of what they think about you. And this is people you know and don't even know. But this is part of progress. This is part of being successful. Collective, this is part of being the beautiful being that you are. So let them watch, let them study, let them chatter, let them say whatever and assume something is the matter. But with the Three of Wands here, this is the energy of you waiting for your ships to sail in, and people know this about you, whether they know you personally or not. There's something about your energy where they know, the collective's really got something special going on. I don't know what it is, but it's something about them. I got to get to know them, and, because and understand that everyone isn't for you, especially spiritually speaking, you could be someone very intuitive, very empathic. Maybe you read auras. You can pick up when someone is mentally or spiritually disheveled. And so you're someone who's not likely to tie yourself to that kind of energy. So there are some people who may feel some type of way, and that's too bad. And it's not for you to explain or apologize. If someone is not for you and you know they are not for you, then by all means do not move forward or allow that person to have access to your life. You are giving your gifts for a reason. Those who are intuitive, those who are prophets, however you want to refer to it, those who are gifted, you're giving your gifts for a reason, and you want to make sure you're using them in the right way. And the number one way, I'm pretty sure, collective, use your gifts to protect yourself, your family, and your loved ones. And wisdom and discernment. It's very important. And so with the hangman position here, this is the energy of you've been there, you've done that. You have dealt with a lot of darkness in your life. Doesn't mean that your life is perfect, but now you're on a new timeline. Now you are doing things different. Now you are choosing to love yourself, and you're only entertaining people, places, and things that are for your highest good. So when you come across someone that is not for you, you're likely to let them know immediately you're not interested, and they become upset. And behind them becoming upset, every time they may see you or encounter you, whether this is in a social group, in your family, a friend group, in a community, work, they'll try to do something to get you upset. This could be someone when you are having a conversation, a general conversation about any topic. This is someone who would like to, maybe give opinions to try to trigger you in some way. Not knowing that you see who they are, you see that they are unhappy. You see, you're very tapped in. I'm going to say that. You're very tapped in. You have several gifts, and you see where they're coming from before they even begin. Okay. And this isn't something that you go around bragging or trying to prove a point. You could be extremely gifted, and I'm a firm believer in, as those who are tapped in, they don't go around saying, "Hey, I'm intuitive. Hey, I'm clairaudient." They don't go around, advertising this, because it doesn't not need to be advertised. The things that people need to know about you, I'm a firm believer in letting it happen organically. Not by you breaking, pushing yourself, being anxious to, oh, this is me, this is me. People will see who you are naturally. Let it happen organically, but it doesn't have to come from you trying to prove a point. You're not someone to seek validation. When on the reciprocal of this message here, these people, they are in that energy. They are seeking validation. They want to know, collective, why aren't you seeking validation? We follow trends. Why aren't you following trends? We may belong to a particular cultural or religious background. Why aren't you following? They want to know, what is it about you, collective, that you are choosing to stand in your authenticity, and you're doing it confidently. You're very vibrant, and it's real. They want to know why you're not following. And you're confident in your skin, and they want to know what it is. You could be someone who's a diviner. You could be someone who's into spirituality. You could be the black sheep of your family. You could be very unique in how you present yourself and dress yourself. You could be someone who's into gothic wear and clothing, hair, makeup, aesthetics, but whatever it is okay to be you. You don't need permission for that. And your spirit team is saying, don't you dare change who you are. Keep being the example of what needs to be seen and heard, because there are many who are afraid to stand in their authenticity. Okay. And it's coming up, and I'm not just saying this because I'm I'm a tarot reader myself, but you may be a tarot reader. There could be someone maybe trolling your account under a fake account, hoping to see or witness something they can go back and take to the group, the watchers, oh, look at the collective. Oh, look at what they're doing. I told you this is them. I told you they are evil. I told you that's the devil. But meanwhile, in the meantime, they have nothing to prove of these facts, and neither do you care to explain or battle with these people. So someone could be watching you under a fake account. Whether you are a tarot reader or not, you may just have be in a spotlight or have a platform on social media, and someone just trolling you and maybe thinking you don't know that they're trolling you. They may be, maybe you're someone who does readings like me where you show your hands and maybe they're accusing you of hiding who you are when that's not the fact. You may be someone who feels that it's important to hear the message and not focus on the messenger. Okay, because unconsciously, involuntarily, human beings, when a message is being distributed, they're most likely to focus on the messenger and not the message. And so there may be different times, where you show your hands or you don't. But there's a lot of assumptions, moving on ahead of this. There's a lot of assumptions about you. And what it is, they can't find any evidence to back up the rumors, the lies, the slander. They can't find any reason even to be angry with you. And they want to find something, and there's nothing. So the more they continue to look and look and look, they're searching. They have to hold on. They're like, I can't believe that someone like the collective actually exists. This is someone who is confident and they're very cool. I mean, they may not like me, but they're really a cool person. And I've been trolling them and judging them. I've been misjudging them. They're steady watching you, and it's really making them reassess, reflect on who they are personally. Because they're trying to move you. Now, this could be a person or a group of people, people people you don't know, people you know of. How when I say know of, this could be someone who's like riding past your home, someone who sees you, but they don't know you personally, but you often cross each other's path. That kind of energy. Okay. Yeah, so it is what it is. Let them have their assumptions with the Ace of Pentacles here, because the more they watch, you will continue to be the example of what needs to be seen and needs to be heard. With the Ace of Pentacles here, this is abundance and prosperity and new opportunity. And they don't have to understand your reason for existing. They don't have to understand your vibration, why you're so energetic, why you're so happy, why you're so bubbly. In that question, maybe you've had somebody say to you also, collective, why are you so happy, why are you so upbeat? The fact that someone would have the courage to ask someone, why are you happy, why are you so bubbly, that is a problem within itself. I have never in my life, collective, asked anyone, why are you happy? It is a wonderful thing to witness people be happy. It's a wonderful thing to watch children laugh and play, and to see happiness, to see laughter. It's inspiring and encouraging. And I have never, as long as I've been here on planet Earth, asked someone, why are you happy? There's something diabolical. If you let that marinate about that question, it says a lot about the person who's asking it. Why is happiness a problem to you? Why is happiness a problem to you? That is something that they need to look in the mirror and get some help on. But either way, keep being who you are. Don't change who you are. Once again, the whole objective of this message is part of standing in your authenticity, being confident. You're supposed to be confident. You're supposed to love yourself. And it's okay to display how you love yourself in whatever fashion you agree on. You don't have to follow trends. You don't have to go along to get along. As I mentioned, you may have different cultural or religious beliefs than those who are in your family or in a group setting, and it's okay. No two humans are alike. People try to constantly limit God. They want to limit the divine and say and have these thought forms of believing that, there's only one way to live life. There's only one way to exist. And that's far from the truth. That's very risky. I'm going to say risky to try to limit the Most High, to try to limit the divine, to try to limit God. That's very risky, to assume that there's only one way to live life and exist. That's very risky. And just like the question of why are you so happy? For a person to think in that mind frame, that's diabolical by itself. And if you let that marinate, that last little portion I said, you'll come to the same conclusion. Like, you know what? There is something wrong with someone limiting God, limiting the Most High, saying, believing, thinking, that it's only one way in life to exist. There's only one way in life to thrive, survive, be successful, It's diabolical. So the Knight of Swords energy here, this is the energy of you being ambitious and very daring, very single-minded, very brave and confident. So your confidence, the way you show up is consistent. And that's another thing. Because it's consistent, they know that you're not fake. They know that it's real. They know that they can try to tarnish who you are, but it won't work. No weapon formed against you will ever prosper. What happens is the unwarranted energy that they're putting out towards you, even when they're trolling your account, gossiping about you, mean mugging you, maybe smiling at you, then calling you a bit under their breath, or when they turn their back, all that energy comes back to them. What's written in the stars for you cannot be taken away from you. No one can take away from you what is meant for you unless you choose to give your power away, unless you choose to engage with these low vibrational people. And so the good thing that I'm picking up, collective, you are someone who knows how to identify. And once you identify, you're not giving them access. So let them stay mad. Let them stay trying to figure you out. It is not your business nor your job to spend your currency. Your currency is your time here on planet Earth, proving to people, debating or arguing about anything that you are or you are connected to. Let them wonder, let them stay mentally and emotionally disheveled, let them wonder. It's up to them to find their own way in life, and that has nothing to do with you. Okay. And so, great fortune always favors the bold. And because you have been very focused on yourself, the work is showing itself, with the high priestess here. The work is showing itself. Every action has a reaction. And the actions you have been taking over a long period of time. And this isn't something that has happened overnight. You could be someone who's going on a weight loss journey. Maybe you're looking great, male or female, and people see it and they're not going to compliment you on it. Not all the time. There are people who will just stare at you, but you're looking great. Maybe you bought that first home, that first car, you started that business, graduated school, you're getting married. You're just happy. And if it isn't any of those things, you're happy and content within yourself, and people see it and people feel it. You could be a stay-at-home mom, and you're happy, you're peaceful, you're joyful, and people know it's genuine, and people want that joy. They wish they could take it for themselves. They wish they could just pick it up and take it, but they can't. You are someone who has done the work over a long period of time, I'm hearing, and you're continuing to do the work. You know who you are. You know your purpose, and you know that anything that you need is within you. You know that the essence of the Most High is within you. You know that you don't need a third or fourth party to communicate, with Source. You know that you can tap in, about your abilities. No one can sell you a wolf ticket. And that's another thing that disturbs people. You're not going with the crowd. As I mentioned, you're not going along to get along. You're going with what you know. You're not taking what someone is feeding you and running with it. You're someone likely to do the research, ask questions. And the person that asks questions usually is the one that irritates the room. Because, we had a lot of people out here faking, but when you begin to ask questions, they become irritated. And they become irritated because what they are connected to or what you are speaking on, it isn't real, or they aren't real. They're not standing in their authenticity. There are a lot of people wearing masks and they're covering up a whole lot. 1 second, collective. A whole lot. They're covering up a whole lot of things, who they are, their insecurities, they're projecting them onto people. There are then another thing, there are people who are hiding things that isn't even worth hiding, because nobody is perfect. At the same time, you don't have to be an open book and let the world in on your life or what you do on a daily. But there are a lot of people who are hiding things that isn't even worth hiding. Like they may be ashamed of, and if they only knew, everybody's been through that. Maybe just about everybody's been in a relationship and it didn't work. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It didn't work. Life is about learning and growing, and finding a way not to repeat the lesson. So either way, yeah, this is the energy here. And so Source and Spirit is saying, don't change who you are. You don't have to change who you are. It's okay to continue to Be you, and don't allow people to make you feel that way. We live in a world where people will try to, when they see a happy person, they'll try to break your spirit. Not everyone, but majority, 99.99%. So you have to be mindful and just not allow those people in your life or to have access to you, because you can't change who they are. And if you force yourself to be around people who are unhealed or have unresolved, they will show their resentment for you and towards you. People will resent you for choosing to love yourself. If they don't, they'll resent you for choosing to love yourself. They will blame you like it's your fault. You're the problem, because you are a reflection. We are all mirrors, we are reflections. And whether we know a person personally or not, we are reflections. A person will observe, we observe each other. And sometimes, people become angry, jealous, or it makes them think or reflect on areas in their life that they wish they have healed. Things they wish they have pursued. Maybe they chose to make a different direction in life for whatever reason. But if you're someone and you're making progress, or you're high vibrational and this person is in their shadow because that's all they know, but they're also choosing to stay there, because there are many different real true life stories where people are from all kinds of circumstances and backgrounds, but they have not allowed themselves to succumb to the conditions of their upbringing. There are people who have not had parents, and graduated and have 2, 3, a PhD, a master's degree, and grow up to become world renowned or successful and authors and, many things, just successful in their own right. And so there are things that can be done under the right guidance, spiritually speaking, and there are positive things that can be done with no guidance. And I have a poetry in my archive called No Guidance. And you should go through there and listen to that and get the inspiration, you know. Because there are things that can be done. It doesn't matter where you come from or how much pain you have endured. There are things you can overcome, but those who get irritated, by hearing any energy of light or any motivation, that's because the idea of work and change, those two words, if you mention work or you mention change to someone, it becomes a problem, because they know that there's something about them that has to change. And the old you doesn't want you to move forward if you allow it. The ego, I call it the residue collective. The ego, as you walk forward, will no come back, no come back. And it's only because it's unfamiliar territory. You're on a new job, you're trying a new skill, a new hobby. This could be anything, because it's unfamiliar. It's normal to be nervous. It's normal to be anxious. It's normal to like, look, I don't know what's going on. I need to ask questions. But you can't allow the residue, the ego, the old you to talk you out of being great. You cannot allow negative circumstances that have impacted you in your life to talk you out to, not moving on. You can't throw in the towel. You can't give up on yourself. Each and every day we have a choice of what we're going to give our attention to. You're either going to focus on the positive things that are happening for you or the negative things. You're either going to focus on the laughter or the tears, the good times or the bad times. If you're grieving a loved one, a loss, a loved one, condolences to you. Think about the good times when you think about them. Laugh, play that music they like. The ancestors would love for you to connect in that form. That just dropped down in my spirit, condolences to you if you've lost a loved one. Think about the good times, focus on the positive. So we're given 24 hours and we have a choice on what we're going to focus on, and we're not children, we're adults. And so you're an adult, you have free will to take action. If you're in an unhealthy connection, that is not serving you, well, you have free will to stand out on faith. Stand out and stand up and trust that God is with you and supporting you, whether you have to go to a shelter, maybe you have to reach out to an agency, whatever, and get out of that connection, get out of that situation. No one is holding you back, but it's the idea of a person hearing the word work or change. You tell somebody work got to be done and change has got to be made, they will just be like, mm-mm. Mm-mm. And some will be like, okay, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. They're not going to allow, as they take a step, the old residue to pull them back. until it no longer serves them. If it doesn't matter who you are, the best thing you can do while you're here on planet Earth is bet on you and give yourself a shot and give yourself a chance at living your best life. Out of all the things that we experience, endure, good times, bad times, pain, sadness, loss, you don't want to have the shoulda, woulda, coulda theory. You don't want to perish from planet Earth with that theory in your mind and your spirit, wondering what would have happened if you would have just stuck it out a little longer, wondering what would have happened if you would have just ignored the gossip and people's opinion, because people are going to talk. Baby, you got to let them be them. That is part of the journey. You're going to have thick skin and become accustomed with the Four of Swords, and go into your meditative state. Look, you can go into this state of being while a hater is right in front of you. And you don't have to be exactly in this physical pose. You can meditate. You can go right into this energy. Those who know. You can go right into this energy while a hater is right there. Let me go ahead and bless myself one time. There's a hater. Let me go ahead and bless myself one. Let me go within. Let me not engage with this goofy. You have to tune out the nonsense. And it's not about pretending and ignoring. It's about making sure that you give yourself your best shot while you're here on planet Earth. You're not put here just to work and go to sleep, work and go to sleep. You're entitled to be happy. You're entitled to have some joy. You're entitled to be loved. You are entitled to be respected. You are entitled to conquer your dreams. You have free will to do all these things. You're entitled to this, and no one is stopping you. It comes back to doing the work and being willing to accept the changes, and it's not easy. It takes time, because the old you want you to stay where you're comfortable at. You may be fighting sobriety, whatever addiction you have, and that's a challenge, but it can be done. It can be done. Day 1, it didn't work. Okay, day 2, day 3. Okay, day 5, it worked. Okay, day 6, it worked, and just keep going. You can reprogram and train yourself. If there's any habit or addiction you want to break, you can truly, honestly, that is not a lie, a joke, or a rumor. You can really reprogram yourself to conquer your goals and your dreams. Yes, you can. So forget about that you can't. Trust and know that you can, and keep going with the Knight of Cups energy here, okay? And as I mentioned, romantically, this represents someone could be interested in you romantically because they like what they see. They like your confidence. It turns them on, okay? They like that you're a go-getter. You're ambitious with the 8 of Wands. You've always got news that you could use coming in. You always got good news coming in, whoever you are. And it's because you've earned it. No, you're not doing anything any rituals, or you may be, and if you are, that's your business. Get your ritual on, but people may accuse you, what that coming up, oh, so-and-so's a witch, or someone's doing something illegal. Someone may be accusing you of doing something illegal because they watch you accomplish and receive blessings and favor from the Most High. God hired you so that therefore no one can fire you. And so that's the fun fact about a hater. They may continue to study and wonder, why are you receiving these pentacles? What is it about the collective? Every time I talk to them or see them, they're happy. They're in good energy. They've always got something going on. What is it about them? They must be doing something illegal. They must be doing this. They must be doing that. Maybe they got I don't know. Maybe they got an OnlyFans. I don't know. People trying to figure you out and pocket watch you, and folks need to be careful with that. You never know who's in their divine purpose. And spiritually speaking, you don't know who folks are connected to. You better be mindful, with trolling in people's spirit, energy, or aura, because as I mentioned, you're very tapped in. And you have many and multiple gifts, and you don't know who folks are connected to. So the fun fact is about this is that you are protected, and this is nothing for you to be anxious about. But this is just a reminder, that, the ideas, your creativity, those creative sparks, those downloads could be coming in fast, and you're someone to act on them. Often people accuse folks of copying, but did you know that source could give the same download you received to someone else? And did you know that if that person chooses to act on it first, it may appear that they are copying because it's the same idea you had in your head, but that idea was a download from the divine. You just didn't react on it. So the moment you see another person react on it, you may accuse them or assume and say, they copying off of me, when reality, not all the time, collective, but sometimes they're not copying. They receive the same message and download that you received. You didn't act on it and they did. That's the difference. So it's also about, shifting your perception. So maybe you've been accused of these things, people saying that you're copying off of them, and you're not. And that goes back to people limiting God. You can't limit God. You can't limit the Most High. There are many ways to accomplish your goal and to be successful in life. So don't assume because you receive an idea that you're the only one with that idea. The Most High could give that download or that idea to someone else, and you just didn't act on it. Or maybe you were going to act on it, but you didn't do it. The other person did it before you. And no, this is not a race or a competition, but that's for someone who needs to hear that. Okay. So maybe you've been accused. People call you a copier or you stole their idea. And no, you didn't, and they really need to take their hatred and their energy up with source, take it up with the divine. That goes right back, as I said, to limiting God. That's very risque. I don't think anyone should do it, but we have free will. That's very risky to limit God. And for you to give directions and say, what the divine has created and what they don't want to happen and what is, wait a minute. Everything has its own divine purpose of why it exists. Every person, place, or thing, it has its own reason of why it exists. Everyone holds value. Everyone has a purpose. Now, when they tap into their purpose, is between them and source. That's a personal thing. Everyone is not going to have an awakenings at the same time or step into their purpose at the same time. And that is okay. Mm-hmm. And so we have the King of Wands here. And so the King of Wands is leadership. This is you, self-confidence, constantly being successful, stepping in your leadership qualities. And now you see how this person is sitting in this chair in their lounge. And so another thing that may cause people to be jealous and envious, they can tell that you live a life of peace and relaxation. These are people who are not peaceful. They could be in marriages and relationships that are very toxic, chaotic, and they're refusing to let it go because they feel that they need this unhealthy connection to fulfill some empty void. There are people who could not have learned to master their lower gonads, their lower regions, they're ungrounded. And so, they move about through allowing that muscle to control their actions. They must, sleep with someone and have those fleeting moments in order to feel fulfilled. Now, there's nothing wrong with having relations, but I'm conveying this message because there are people out there who actually live and thrive by this. They feel if they're not in a relationship, whether it's healthy or not. Basically, these are people who are willing to be with just anybody, just to say they have somebody. But what's going on behind closed doors, they're very unhappy and they're miserable. Whether they're married, dating, living spouse, these people are unhappy. They smile and kiki in front of people, but behind closed doors, or when they get a phone call from their spouse, someone could be going through verbal abuse. Every time they speak to their spouse, they're very grouchy, rude. What do you want? Why you call my phone? I come home when I want to come home. That kind of energy, so hurt people. So if someone is in a relationship and they're at home privately being mistreated, abused, talked to any kind of way, they're going to come out into the world and project that energy onto someone because, they are too insecure to know and acknowledge that, hey, I could actually leave this relationship. I don't have to stay here. So a person will choose to stay in the hangman position in situationships and relationships and marriages that they're unhappy in. And it doesn't matter if this person has more material things than you, or you may say, this person, oh, they have a beautiful house, or they're wealthy, they're successful. This is like a couple who post pictures online. They're always traveling. They have a lot of resources. They could live a very comfortable financial life, but they're miserable and unhappy. Okay. So yeah, don't let the material things fool you. Keep in mind, there comes an obligation and responsibility. We have free will, but there comes an obligation and responsibility. The more material things that you obtain, you have to maintain them, especially moving forward as you get older in life. There's a responsibility, a financial responsibility. And some folks obtain so much, and it's wonderful to have these things, but you have to pay for them. And if you have to pay for them, you're constantly moving and working to make sure you can maintain them, right? Because nothing's free. It's transactional here in the matrix, okay? So you have to maintain the big house, the 2, 3 cars, the vacations, the trips, the credit cards, carrying, wearing labels only, the Michael Kors badge, paying $100 to get your nails done, making sure your kids wear nothing but labels. There's a maintenance, there's a requirement for this lifestyle. So spirit is saying, don't feel or think, because you may feel, well, this person has a lot of material, as I just said. You may feel you have less than them when it comes to tangible things, but you're happy because you're standing in your authenticity. And when I say less, that doesn't mean you're less than. Okay, this person is wrapped up in stress, unhealthy connection, no harmony in a household, a spouse who is verbally abusive, talks to them very disrespectful, possibly humiliates them in front of people. And they're constantly on the chase of trying to maintain a lifestyle, a persona, a mask, the trends, what's trendy. I want to have this because it's popping. There's nothing wrong with having nice things, but when it gets to a point where it's controlling you and you're so miserable on the inside that you start to project it outward, that's when we need to go deeper. As you see, the shades are down with the high priestess, and take a deeper look at ourselves in the mirror. So I said all that to explain that that's what these people are going through. And you show up like this. Now you see he's lounging. He looks very comfortable. Like, I'm going to watch the game today. You know, make me a sandwich, watch the game, and just sit on my rump. And people become jealous of that. A person will envy your contentment, your peace. Yes, people envy that. It is a gift to have peace, to have laughter in your life, to even know how to laugh. Laughing is healing, okay? So yes, don't get it twisted, Spirit is saying. These people are very unhappy, as you move forward, usually people downsize and they want to minimize their responsibility. As people move forward, I repeat, usually people want to downsize and minimize their responsibility. You don't get older and move forward and create more responsibility. You can, but that comes with a obligation. It's financial. It can become emotional. Okay. The responsibility of trying to maintain all these things. Someone could have 6 cars, and they may say, I don't need all 6 of those cars. I'm going to downsize to 4, or I don't need 4. You know what? I'm just going to have one vehicle. I've had all that all my life. One is good enough for me. I have a 6-bedroom house. You know what? The kids are grown. The kids are gone. I can settle for a 2-bedroom. People usually downsize because the goal is to make life more simple, more easy. There are people who want to retire. I'm picking that up. You could have someone who wants to retire and they can't retire because they're taking on more obligations, more responsibilities. This could be something that they're arguing about behind closed doors with their spouse. This could be one of the reasons why they come and project onto you every chance they get. They're giving back high-sided blows, lots of sarcasm, trying to create a ripple effect or rage bait you or question who you are or how you live or why you do this and why you do that. Meanwhile, this person is on the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel is like one of those stationary bikes, exercising bikes, moving fast but going nowhere. So, yes. So, this reading here. So you need to know that, Spirit has conveyed this message through me so that you will be clear. It's not you, it's them. It's part of the process of being successful, being great, and being happy. As I mentioned, you could be someone, you could say, look, I don't work. I'm a stay-at-home mom. But you're happy being a stay-at-home mom, You're not someone who put everyone in your business. You're not negative. If you have something going on, you're likely to take it to God or take it to a friend. Maybe you can confide in. There's nothing wrong with having one or two people who you can talk to and trust. You don't move the way other people move. Life does happen for you. Nobody is perfect. There's no such thing, but we can always make it better. And we can make it better when we're ready for the change and we're willing to do the work. This concludes the read. I trust and hope it assists you for your highest good. Later.